Hello and welcome to this session where we're going to continue our analysis of the essay of studies by Francis Bacon. In this essay of studies where Bacon is dealing with the use, abuse and result of studies, what Bacon says next, let's see. I'm reading it. Some books are to be tasted, others to be swallowed, and some few to be chewed and digested. That is, some books are to be read only in parts, others to be read but not curiously, and some few to be read wholly and with diligence and attention. So it is clear after reading it that here Bacon is explaining that all reading material can be divided into three parts, where some books are to be tested, some books are meant to be read in parts, or we can read them in parts from here and there, whereas there are some books which are meant to be swallowed or for rapid reading, for general reading without going much into the details. They are informative in nature, and some few to be chewed and digested. And then there are some important books which must be read or which must be studied wholly, thoroughly, diligently, and attentively. Just as we chew and digest our food, in the same way, these books we should think over these books thoroughly, see and seriously, and we should understand them well so that we can get the permanent benefits out of them. So that's why Bacon says that with diligence and attention we should read them. Some books also may be read by deputy and extracts made of them by others, but that would be only in the less important arguments and the meaner sort of books, else distilled books are like common distilled waters, flashy things. So here Bacon seems to recommend his readers that there are some unimportant books or meaner sort of books which can be read by or which while reading them we can have assistant or deputies, because what these assistants and deputies will do, these deputies can extract or make notes for us of these books, and we can read only those arguments or summaries made by these deputies. So we can deal with such meaner sorts of books in this way too. And then these certain books can also be called distilled books, because as distilled water, ordinary distilled water is insipid, the taste of ordinary distilled water is insipid, in the same way these distilled books which after summarization becomes insipid, they appear to us very dull and uninteresting, which were very much interesting in reading in their original form. So these meaner sort of books are can be called distilled books after the summarization, when we read their summary form which is made for us by our deputies or assistants, like common distilled water, flashy things, which used to be very flashy or very interesting earlier, but now they appear to us dull after their summarization. Next paragraph. Reading maketh a full man, conference a ready man, and writing an exact man. So now Bacon is explaining the relative merits of reading, conferring, and writing, where he's saying that extensive reading makes a man full of information. Resultingly, a man becomes a thorough scholar. Conference a ready man. Discussions and exchanging of ideas make a man quick witted, a ready man, and writing an exact man. And writing makes us precise and exact in our thoughts and expressions, and therefore if a man write little, he had need have a great memory. If he confer little, he had need have a present wit, and if he read little, he had need have much cunning to seem to know that he doth not. So here Bacon is suggesting that if man is not in the habit of writing, then he can make up this deficiency of writing by having a good memory or great memory. He can make up this deficiency, he can compensate this deficiency of writing. If he confer little, he had need have a present wit. And if a man does not take active part in conference or discussions, then he can then this deficiency can be made up by his gift of uh, sharp or witty by his gift witty nature. If he has sharp wit, then it can be compensated. If he does not take active part in discussions, then if he has gift of sharp wit, then he can compensate this. And if he read little, he had need have much cunning. And if person does not read much, then he can compensate this deficiency of reading if this man has cleverness and cunningness, because he can pose that he does not lack in intensive reading by with the help of his cunningness to seem to know that he doth not, he can pose that he does not. So in this way we can very well infer here that Bacon lacked moral earnestness. His essays are full of worldly wisdoms, irrespective of the fact that the advice is based on morality or not, where he is suggesting his readers that that without deep studies also you can do well in the world if you are cunning, if you have good memory, or if you are sharp witted. So this is what Bacon is suggesting in these lines. Histories make man wise, poets witty, the mathematics subtle, natural philosophy deep, moral grave, logic and rhetoric able to contend. So, in these lines, Bacon is telling us the advantages of the different branches of knowledge. As he is saying, history makes man wise. When a man reads histories of different countries and peoples, he comes to know about their deeds and misdeeds. Resultingly, he becomes wise. Poets witty. The study of poetry makes man witty by teaching him beautiful and apt expressions. The mathematics subtle, as the study of mathematics increases our subtle intelligence. Natural philosophy deep. The study of natural philosophies makes our mind deep by acquainting us the secrets of the profound secrets of nature. Moral grave. Ethics makes us serious minded and thoughtful. Grave. Logic and rhetoric able to contend, and the study of logic and rhetoric gives us power of arguing and debating. So, abiunt studia in mors. This is a Latin saying which means studies shape the habits and character of a man. Studies pass into and influence manners. Next paragraph. Nay, there is no stone or impediment in the wit, but may be wrought out by fit studies. Like as diseases of the body may have appropriate exercises. So here Bacon is expressing his belief that there is no impediment, there is no hindrance or problem of the mind which cannot be worked out, which cannot be resolved by the appropriate study. In the similar way, as so just like the appropriate or the right physical exercise can cure, or it has the right physical exercise resolve or improves the condition of the various parts of the body, or it cures the diseases of the body. In the similar way, studies has also the cure, reading books has also the solution of any disorder or obstacle of the mind. So here he is illustrating this fact with the example of these right physical exercise for the disorders of the body. In the same way, mental diseases or disorder of the mind also have cure if the proper studies should be, if the proper study is provided. Bowling is good for the stone and rains kidneys. shooting for the lungs and breast, gentle walking for the stomach, riding for the head, and the like. So in this way, every hindrance, obstacle, or impediment of the mind has cure, and the solution lies in studies or reading books. So if a man's wit be wandering, let him study the mathematics. For in demonstrations, if his wit be called away, never so little, he must begin again. So now here he is suggesting that how studies help us, or how almost every mental defect has a remedy, or it can be removed by the appropriate study or the special course of study. So here he is saying that if there is a man who is unable to fix his concentration or attention on the topic, he should study mathematics, because in mathematics, while solving the problem, he has to concentrate all his attention carefully upon it, and in case of inattentiveness or carelessness, the calculations will go wrong, and he has to begin the whole problem again. So in this way he will understand the value of concentration, and gradually it will form the habit of concentration in this man. So in this way his absent mindedness can be cured with the help of mathematics. So if a man's wit be wandering, let him study the mathematics. For in demonstrations, if his wit be called away never so little, he must begin again. The next paragraph: if his wit be not apt to distinguish or find differences, let him study the schoolmen, for they are simony sectors. So if there is a man who is unable to uh, distinguish, or unable to find the difference between two objects, who is unable to perceive the difference between the two objects, he should study the schoolmen. The schoolmen are the theologians or philosophers of the Middle Ages, and here Bacon is calling them hair splitters, simony sectors, which means excessive discussion on small but important details. So these men were hair splitters, who used to discuss excessively on small but important details, and by studying these schoolmen, a man can have, or man can develop develop a great distinction and his keenness in perception. So in this way, a man who is unable to distinguish or find differences, he should study schoolman. And then there is, if he be not apt to beat over matters and to call up one thing to prove and illustrate another, let him study the lawyer's cases. So if there is a man who is not good in arguments, and he has to call up, he has to retrieve from his memory one thing, and he finds difficulty in retrieving one thing to prove and illustrate another, let him study. He should study lawyers' cases in order to improve or cure this ailment or this problem of his mind. So every defect of the mind may have a special receipt. So here Bacon is concluding this essay by remarking that every defect of the mind may have a special receipt, or we can say an assured remedy. There is an assured remedy we can find in studies. So this was the essay of Studies by Francis Bacon, where we can very well sense that although this essay is lacking in emotional expressions, nevertheless it is a wonderful effort of imparting the importance of studies. So that's all for today. Thank you for listening.